especially with clunky software. Many teams experience this, and it's okay to acknowledge that things could be easier. Imagine a system that uncomplicates your processes. That's what D4H is designed to do. We're here to help you focus on what truly matters, readying your community. We believe in arming you with tools that make your vital work more manageable, allowing you to respond effectively and confidently. It's about making your job easier, not harder, and we're here to help you get there. Just use easy emergency management software already. Everyone's doing it. Hello, everyone. And if you recognize the voice on that intro video, it is me, Billy, the D4H Emergency Management Solution Specialist. Welcome to the live stream we have going on today with the Pennsylvania College of Technology. So let's bring them into the stream here, and we'll get started with some introductions. So everybody in the room, let's start with Will on my right-hand side. So let's go down the line, and if you want to share your role with the college and any other fun facts or what you're studying even with the program, so go for it.
Yeah, my name is Will Schlosser. I'm an instructor at the Pennsylvania College of Technology in Emergency Management and Homeland Security. My fun fact is I play the tuba in addition to teaching emergency management here, and I'm also an active emergency manager in a county in Pennsylvania, and as well as a municipality and a school.
My name's Katie Martin. I'm a student here at the Pennsylvania College of Technology. I'm studying emergency management and homeland security. A fun fact is I'm a firefighter back at home, so that's what kind of got me into this field. So.
My name's Micaiah Stake, and I'm also in the emergency management homeland security program. And a fun fact about me is I'm also a firefighter and EMT, and I live at Montoursville Fire Station.
Hello, my name is Colin. I, as you can probably guess, am in the Emergency Management and Homeland Security program. And one cool fact about me is I am from all the way across the country in Washington State, so I came a long ways to get all the way to Pennsylvania.
Nice. That's actually crazy. And I do actually want to talk about the fun facts too. So first, the tuba. I know this has nothing to do with the software that we're talking about today, but I'm a massive a cappella nerd. I play piano as well. And then the firefighters in the crowd, I grew up in a firehouse as a firefighter for about 5 years, and then I ditched it to go pure medical volunteer EMT currently. So I get it coming from that field. West Coast. My wife is from California, neighbors to Washington. So
Cool.
With that, thank you all for spending late evening with us. I'm sure classes, I don't know if they're still happening this late or anything, but since you're all part of the same program and anyone can address this, tell me a little bit about the Pennsylvania College of Technology and the specific Homeland Security program that you're studying, a little bit of like some context there. And when I was in college, we didn't really have a specific emergency management program at all. I just studied international affairs. So I don't know if you want to talk about the program a little bit and just the college in general.
Yeah, so Penn College, first off, just Penn College in general is a great school entirely. It is more about hands-on work than anything else I've ever seen. We are currently actually sitting in our lab here for the emergency management program, which allows us to actively simulate disasters and responses for us. And so Penn College has been very good with hands-on activities for us, and that includes the emergency management program.
Yeah, one of the things that, like Colton had said, that really differentiates us is the hands-on aspect. So we talk about theory, but then as soon as we talk about theory, we go exercise it. So our students go out in the field all the time. We run a ton of different simulations, whether that be in our labs or exercises that are at our Earth Science Center. So you're actually taking mobile command post out and setting up communications at a remote site. Or we take them to active disasters as well, where they can participate as volunteers and shadowing different teams and how they're dealing with disasters.
That's incredible, because I think one of the bigger critiques too is, the entire emergency management field is consistently changing. So that theory, that application, that understanding is always going to be different regardless of the entire incident you're facing. And the fact that you get that hands-on, because a massive part of emergency management too is, everybody can take those independent study FEMA courses, but then also it's like, okay, can you actually fill out an ICS form? Can you actually do a resource request through a software? Speaking of software, and I guess if you want to talk a little bit about the curriculum and that blending of D4H, but what kind of specific classes maybe is a part of the program, and then how does D4H kind of blend into that whole curriculum that you currently have established?
Yeah, Katie, why don't you talk about some of our classes and then we'll go into some of the ways we use D4H there.
Yeah, so some of our classes, we start out with Introduction to Emergency Management, where you really get that base foundation knowledge that you need to grow the information throughout your years here at Pennsylvania College of Technology. We learn about history of emergency management, starting all the way back at bucket brigades, firefighting. I think the biggest class that we have, and one of the most important that occurs here in this lab, is ICS, the Incident Command System. And we learn all about the organizational charts, the command staff, general staff, those kind of things. And we use the Planning P to work through incidents hands-on. And I think that's really where we implement D4H the most.
Anybody want to add on with any of the other classes you've taken?
Critical infrastructure, we take a deep dive into all the different categories of critical infrastructure. We go out and visit the sites that are local. Another big class that we have is geospatial analysis. So we actually work with ArcGIS and CalTopo and learn to build maps from the base up. It's a very difficult class, but it's rewarding at the end.
Yeah, so our program is built really to help our students succeed everywhere. We have the bachelor's degree, and I believe we also have the associate's degree. Not anymore?
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah, we were phasing some of this stuff through. He's actually an associate paramedic science.
Yeah. And so the bachelor's degree just really helps us progress through all the stages that emergency management will take us through. We go from intro, we do history, we have our geospatial analysis, our incident command systems class, but we also take a step into Homeland Security as well, with Homeland Security classes, some bioterrorism, and other sorts of classes that give us a good foundation and level of understanding in everything. And with all those classes, it's important to have a good program to be able to organize everything. And that's where D4H and some of these other programs come in that help us get all of our forms and information organized for us during these hands-on activities that we do as well.
Yeah, one of the things that separates us is every one of the programs at Pennsylvania College of Technology has an advisory committee of industry leaders. So we have a committee of people from across the country that when we make a curriculum change or want to validate our curriculum and to say, are we still on track, we take it out to practitioners in the field and say, hey, is this a good idea? Or is there something we're missing? And they're able to come through and say, yep, you're on track, or no, this new thing is out there and you need to do this new thing.
Yeah,
so
and that's
we've got a 100% rate. So
no, I mean, it's crazy too, because like it's so easily overlooked that when you think about, emergency management, it's like a blanket, but like not really, because there's so much underneath that blanket in terms of the sectoral approaches, like how Homeland Security is drastically different from emergency management in the context of the federal sector or the private sector or the public sector. So the fact that you have those little dips of like, what kind of curriculum should we study? That's incredibly important, especially now that collaboration is going to be a massive effort going forward in terms of emergency management cohesion. I know I said I wasn't going to pinpoint out anyone, but I got really excited when I heard about you two being firefighters. So the one thing I do want to kind of ask from your experience from the field of incident response, first response, to now learning about the greater structure of emergency management, because when you grow up in the first response environment, that's your microcosm. There isn't really that like massive incident command structure. So as you were learning about this program or even using D4H, how have you noticed, have there been differences, or, would you ever want to incorporate D4H for your fire department? Just kind of speaking to that difference of environment as well.
I think that it's definitely a big change coming from boots on the ground firefighting to studying emergency management, which is such a 3,000-foot level versus what we were looking at before. But I think with Will's help and our other professors here, they always are like pounding it in us to make sure you're looking at it from a 3,000-foot level, like less of the tactical kind of information that we were so used to before. But I think D4H and like programs like D4H allow us to kind of take a step back and reorganize our thoughts and then implement it in a way that is that 3,000-foot level that gets us to do well in the incident.
So I would copy exactly what she said, just taking a step back and looking at the big picture versus the tactical side of it. But it's definitely helped with the lingo and understanding. We know what we need on scene, so being able to take that and move it back to help our classmates or whoever else is on our team doing it. We understand the radio chatter and that outlook. So I think it's useful that we have that background, but we just have to remember to take that step back in the management side.
So do you think that it would be an easy program? Now, I've used it a couple times. Katie's pretty new to the program, but do you think that you would be able to use it on a search or something like that with your fire department to better manage that search aspect?
I think if it was a bigger incident search, it would definitely be useful. It's kind of hard to get the fire service to change with their old ways, but I think that a program like D4H would be great for an expanding incident.
Yeah, absolutely. And so just before I jump into the continuation of the curriculum here too for Colton, so you coming from across the country in Washington, what got you into emergency management, specifically this program, but also now that you've kind of learned about D4H, does it kind of inspire you more in the field for those creative solutions and those really simplistic outcomes in the field?
Yeah, of course. So I got into emergency management on a whim. I came to Penn College for a different program, actually. I came here for a paramedic program, and at the time the college offered paramedic and emergency management. I joined the emergency management program, and I found out that I fell in love with it. I'm also a wildland firefighter back in Washington State, so I have that background of being on those larger incidents. And let me tell you, D4H would be amazing in the wildland scene, just for the fact that they still use paper for everything, and I have no clue what's going on half the time when I'm out there. And so coming into here to this emergency management program and then being able to learn how to use D4H has greatly expanded my knowledge and expectations for wildland fire and any sort of fire service or emergency response at all, because using this program will greatly help everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a huge fan of D4H, obviously, since I work for the company. But on that preach note too, let's get into some of the bigger picture items here. The big exercise incident you guys ran in November. Correct me if I'm wrong. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that event, how it went down, what it was like using the software, everything, just kind of run with it. And I'll probably think of some additional targeted questions as you guys speak about it. So feel free to kick us off.
Yeah, so Penn College, like we said before, is a very hands-on school. So we try to do 2 major exercises every year. One is pretty set. It's Rotorfest. That's upcoming on April 8th. So if you're in the Williamsport area, come on over to Penn College on April 8th and just have a good time here on campus with us as we land some helicopters. But we also do a differing exercise. We try to partner with another group on campus every fall. So this year we partnered with forestry, and we were running a missing persons exercise that was out at our Earth Science Center. So a fairly remote area of about 70 acres of wood. So in there, we had to do a bunch of different things. One, we had to coordinate all the responders, right? But we also had to do things like resource requests for forestry students to go out and chop logs that were over top of roadways, so we couldn't get there in time. We had to make sure that we knew where clues were and things like that as we went through. So we set up as instructors the kind of scenario, and we definitely hired a dummy to go lay in the woods for a while. And our boss actually did that too. Those are 2 separate things. But then we brought everybody in the day before, and actually Kai was our incident commander. And I didn't really prep her a whole lot, as most incidents happen, right? Like you just go through and, hey, this big bad thing is, how are you going to run all the processes to make it work? So we kind of sprung it on her in class. I assigned her as the incident commander, and that was the first time that she ever got an email from D4H. And, hey, you've just been assigned as the incident commander for this exercise. She may have had a few choice words for me at that particular moment, but I took the challenge. And why don't you expand on how that worked for you?
Yeah, so the software worked great. We didn't really touch a whole lot on the software before that incident. It was kind of brand new to everyone. So after class, we had a little general staff meeting, and I logged on as the incident commander, and I was able to assign roles and then help the incident team start building those tasks out and the objectives. So it was really easy to follow along with, never seen the software before. So super user-friendly. And during the incident, one of the favorite things that we figured out how to do was the audit feature. So we actually had everyone check in, and when we had them download the app. So on the search crews, they went out and they were able to take pictures of the debris and send it in the chat. So we were able to see the exact location of the debris, where we were going to send the next crew to cut up the trees with a forestry team, and then we were able from there to track them through the exercise. So they would send a message, and we'd be able to pin their location, so we could just keep an updated location for that. But the real-time software that allowed us to be able them to send a message and we see it instantly was awesome.
Yeah, I was going to add on too. So we also just released lifetime GPS capability for our mobile applications, in case you saw that blog item there. But that's wild. Like, I don't think people really fully understand that the fact you walked into an incident, never having been an incident commander before, even though it was just an exercise setting, never touched the software before. And then you're like, oh, I can just use this. I can just click buttons and everything happens. And then also the fact that you quite literally had people in the woods able to send a photo straight to your mock EOC, your ICP, your incident command post. And then you're like, dope, let's send that crew out there. Like, it sounds like it's such a natural feature, but the fact that you were able to do so efficiently just speaks volume to the ability of both the curriculum and the fact about using the software. So I don't know if anyone else had any comments that they wanted to build on to that incident before I move on to maybe if you want to talk a little bit too about Rotorfest coming up and how you plan to use the software for that purpose.
Yeah, so again, I go back to our curriculum. We are a very hands-on school. So this actually started, this is our third time doing Rotorfest. Our first time with D4H though. This started out with a friend of mine who was a Army National Guard pilot. And he actually low flew campus. And so I was a little bit concerned when the Black Hawk kept on circling, and then I found out it was him, and then we got to chat, and he was a graduate of Penn College. And so as we developed this idea, it just became a bigger and bigger idea for an incident to be managed by students. So the first time was pretty small. The second time was about twice as big. And this year we have about 25 coordinating and cooperating agencies with us. And it's been awesome to get it out of my email, quite frankly. So we have a planning team of probably about 8 or 9 students that come in every Monday, and they're using the resource request tables to track all of the different cooperating agencies. And what's really helpful there is all the contact information and all of the stuff that you need is right in the resource request. So it is a true 213RR, right? Like, you have all the stuff. That's the stuff where missions fail in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they've been working on it for 2 months, 3 months now, calling out to different agencies. We have a couple agencies coming are always, as a request, right? It's not, we're not telling them to come, and there's always emergencies that happen. But we'll get the Coast Guard out of Atlantic City, the state police fly in out of Harrisburg. We have a couple helicopters coming out of Fort Uniontown Gap. And then response agencies from around the county and northern tier, everything from drone agencies to dog teams. So they've been able to, each of them are in different sections in the resource unit, and go in and pull together the resource requests that are all synchronized. So as an instructor, one, that terrifies me because I'm not the one doing it. Two, it's really awesome to see them do all this stuff, and I can just jump into the resource table and just see it all at once, just like I would if I was an IC on a mission. So that's helpful. So if you guys want to chat about we haven't done it yet. So
something that I really like is we don't have to use another mapping software to map out where we're going to put all the units. So being able to use that resource request and then take that pin and drag it to where we're going to stage them on the map has been super helpful versus using a software like ArcGIS and then importing it into another software.
Yep. I was going to say too. So the thing that I always say in my demo pitches too, and for all the viewers that currently just joined in as well, first of all, thank you. Hello. You came in at a very great part as we're deep in discussion. But I did not pitch any pre-materials to any of the people on the stream here. And I love how that point about the map, I always say that how it's so nice where you can tie in map layers. You can use your own mapping features. It can all be done in D4H, but you can also, and I kind of want to tie in the resource request feature as well. So I know you're talking about the 213RR. I do have a status board that is made for a dynamic resource request kind of tracking. But then also when you think about, oh, sweet. And then when you think about the mapping too, you can tie in different pins and assign them to status boards. Can you walk me through that execution process of how you did a resource request in D4H, or maybe even any potential innovative solutions that you kind of discovered as you were using D4H to make that process a little bit easier?
So I didn't know the mapping feature would pin the resource request automatically. So we were just playing around with the software, trying to get more familiarized with it. And I discovered that the pins were all dropped in the location when we put the location in the map. And then we just click the edit button and drag them around where you think, and it makes it really seamless.
Yeah.
The initial in that resource status board has that location, right? And so you can put the location. Well, we were putting it all in as our address, which makes sense. But the location that the operation is in is actually fairly small. It's a 1 city block wide, so it is all going to be the same address. So getting really granular, you're able to just pull that pin, and that flips over into the resource request, which is giving you coordinates then, as opposed to a physical address. And that's helpful to me because when you put out special instruction of spins for helicopters per se, that's got a lot of very detailed information that's going to be very, very exact, right? And so I can say, okay, Pennsylvania State Police helicopter, here is your exact coordinate. U.S. Coast Guard, here is your exact coordinate and timing to get in here. So that really airspace is a problem, right? We don't want to have 2 helicopters collide. So deconflicting airspace is a high priority, and that gives us a very clear, this is where you're supposed to be. And it gives them a very clear, this is where you're supposed to be. And I can just add that map in super easily.
Yeah, 100%. And so I guess what I kind of want to talk about next too. So is this the first year that you've used D4H, or has this been a Yeah, great, cool. So you guys are kind of like the guinea pigs of the entire curriculum there. So how has it been adjusting it into a new curriculum, but also where do you see this software now going as a part of your curriculum? Do you have big ideas for the next following years? Are going to stay consistent with the curriculum? I just kind of that's a huge deal to use it in an education sense as kind of a really big trailblazing feature from I think how most programs should be approaching the field.
So I'm going to let them answer first, and then I'm going to go through with my ideas, because sometimes they have better ideas than me.
I guess we'll start off. I think that it's definitely a big change, just like I was talking about before, like going from that boots on the ground level to that 3,000 foot level. I unfortunately took our incident command class that we usually use D4H for prior to us having the program. So I mean, I've only had a few times where I've gotten to really play with the program, and the usability is insane. It is immensely amazing. Like having things automatically upload and having that audit feature, like Kai said, it's ultimately going to change the emergency management field forever, truly.
So going off what she said about we were in the same incident command systems class, so we did everything on paper, or we downloaded the form to Google Docs or Word and shared it. So having that automatically in the program and then being able to complete the form that we're doing and other people being able to jump in and edit it at the same time without worrying about the software crashing, because we had a lot of issues with Word, it wouldn't upload automatically. So being able to work on a form and everyone can see it at the same time, and you can see who put what where, it makes it a lot easier.
See, they're all talking about having their forms on Word and documents. I remember when I was a freshman, we had a whiteboard with the entire form just kind of outlined on there. It's actually sitting right over there. And that is what we used the entire time. We had a whiteboard that we had to write on, wipe off, write on it again. And so being able to go into a program where you can have everyone in the classroom be able to log on simultaneously and work on something together really changes how we work as a team. When you're working out in the field, you're not working individually. And so having a program that allows all of us to get onto one form, work together, and collab, and even with the text box where we can type to each other saying, hey, this is what we think needs to change. Here's a list of all the changes that happened through the audit logs. It really allows for a much more ease of communication and collaboration between programs. And I think this is getting implemented throughout our entire program now. We are starting to use it in some of our ICS classes. We're starting to use it in our events like Rotorfest and our Lost Hiker simulations. But I believe it will go through even to our recovery, our planning, and our intro to emergency management classes as well, to kind of incorporate all of that stuff together so we can put it all into one big idea.
Yeah, so I'll follow on from the educational perspective. So one of the things that we do is we do a lot of field work and field surveys. So we have a class, technology and emergency management, and one of the assignments is to go through and find different technologies that are currently used in the United States and then write about them. And so that is kind of how I found out about D4H, because the name just kept on coming up over and over and over again in these assignments. And I'm like, I had not heard of it. So let's take a look at it, right? Because if that many people are using it, we should probably go back and make sure that our graduates are prepared to use it. So jumped on the website, and it's uncomplicated software, right? Like that's the thing. And it is super simple to use. So if you know the incident command system, ICS, and you have D4H, you're good. The amount of on the job training needed or just in time training needed is very low. So then when we did the onboarding, I learned even more about how the back end is working and how you configure tables and how you can make sure that each play is done so that you can make your different plays for different things. And as I'm looking forward, I'm going to change some of that technology part to say, okay, well, here's this system. You're going to have to customize the system for your own organization. Like that's just going to be a skill that you're going to need to do. So here's one environment. You're going to have to program it. So getting into the back end of a program to change, here's the form names and here's the form types, and this is how to make a status board. That's going to be really important. In our spatial analysis class, which is changing to a geospatial information systems class, now it's going to be in the catalog. Okay, this is what a standalone GIS program is. This is what an integrated program is, and this is how you connect the two. In our recovery class, okay, so here is the advanced thing. As you're taking a look at this, the incident has now happened. How are you going to project out your forms and resource requests for the next 6 months? Build it into that class. So again, it's a very, very dynamic program, but still super simple at the same time, which is quite unique, right? So I see it going across our entire breadth, everything from our technologies class to recovery to obviously our ICS class. That's super easy to fit in, right? It's bread and butter. But it hits all the check boxes from an educational standpoint, curricular development standpoint. The other thing that's super helpful for us is that we have a link into D4H, right? So we're exploring some beta tests. And so it's cool for us to go through. And so we were taking a look at weather the other day, and the weather module, which is, I don't think launched yet, but you can go through and take a look at it, and it's kind of there. So as we took a look at it, going, okay, this part is really, really user friendly. This part maybe needs some differing iconology or something like that. So having that conversation, again, is super helpful, because even in the world of professional emergency management, you have that optimization, generally speaking, with COTS products, commercial off-the-shelf products, where you have a link in back. So having that conversation in this setting will better prepare my students for the future.
Yeah, 100%. And it's so funny too. So I was like kind of like a little like anecdote, and then I did want to, because you brought up a great point about the beta and the features and the testing. So I was taking an incident safety officer course online just to get more certifications in the field. And they were like, fill out ICS forms, and I was like, well, I got D4H. I'm just going to fill out the forms. And so I just did the forms really simply in my demo account, and I posted them to the discussion forum. And then all the students that I was working with, they were all like, where did you get those forms? They look so clean. How did you get them? I'm like, well, this is not even supposed to be a shameless plug, but D4H, like if you want to, because they're all firefighters, they're all police, they're all EMTs. And they're like, wait, you have pre-made ICS forms? Like, this is so better than like my pen and paper. So yeah, that impact in terms of how it just really ripple effects is really powerful. speaking of the beta features as well. So obviously, we've been talking so great about D4H, but are there any maybe unique ideas that maybe you would like to see in the software? Are there any things that maybe you think could be better in the software? But also from your time with the software, have you created anything that maybe you want to share with our audience that might be useful for other people to use as well? So I know it's like kind of 3 legs there, but try to do whichever one comes first. Feel free to go for that.
Yeah, so again, I've only had a little bit of playtime with it, but I was inputting a lot of information for our upcoming Rotorfest on April 8th. You should all totally come. And I was entering just our organizational chart and entering the people that are going to fulfill those positions. And Colton here actually is going to be our air branch director as well as our communications coordinator. And it was difficult to enter that one user, being Colton, into both of those sections. I actually did email like the little help question place on your guys' website, and they responded like immediately, no questions asked, and they were like, yeah, we're looking into it and we're hoping to do this in the next update. I was so impressed. I was like, wait, no, they didn't email me back already. That's not possible. But yeah, that's the only thing that I really noticed throughout my short amount of playtime with it.
Any features you'd like to see?
A feature that was easy to use, Structure Sasha talked about the programming on the back end of it. We actually went in and he had us work on a little bit of the programming with, was it task cards?
Yep.
So we took task cards that we already had and went in and put the steps, and that was like super easy to do and super seamless for someone that has no background in any like computer programming.
That's the job aids via the tasking. So
Yeah. I was thinking like we're talking about like T cards, like archaic, like little like drag and drop like cards as well. Yeah.
That's behind.
Oh yeah, there it is. So
we still do all the basics too. So if the world crashes, we can still do the stuff, right? But parlaying that into the program is quick for us.
We also do have a digital T card status board if you wanted to test that out and stress
That'd
test.
be great.
Let me know if you like it or hate it, because I created that. So just let me know if it works or not next time.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Anything that you've seen?
I just want to say one of my favorite features is being able to have it on my phone. Because I cannot always be at a computer with Wi-Fi. And so being able to have D4H open up on my phone so I can check any updates, like we were talking about during our Lost Hiker simulation, we had people just texting in exact coordinates of where they found things. And so having that has just been a great help to expand the ability of and use of the program as well.
Yeah.
So as far as the programming part of this, we've kind of just started in with our students. So it's still a learning experience, but next semester is that technology class. And what I'm going to ask them to do is create a couple different types of status boards, and then also create different types of plays, right? So when you're coming in, here's the incident. What things do you need to open up in this category of incident? And that's, again, a super useful thing. It's already built into the program, that flexibility part, but that, hey, you've got to think about what is going to be needed for you in this particular issue. So build it out for that. And I think that flexibility, although inherent to the program already, is a unique thing, right? I can't do that with every other program. So that's awesome. One of the things that I would like to see, we were talking about the beta with weather, the weather itself is done, and this may be changed since last time I saw it, but it's done in grid squares. And so the overlay, if you're very close, just looks like one square.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It doesn't, if I'm doing the whole of Pennsylvania, awesome, that's information I can use.
Yep.
But when zoomed in, it's not giving me actionable information. Now the weather from on the left side, I forget what it's called, but it's the weather, graphical weather.
Right.
But it's just having it on a map is super helpful, especially when you've got a common operating picture that has all the GPS stuff of everyone else. I've been in an incident one time where life was good, and then all of a sudden this freak thunderstorm came through, and the only way that we realized it was going to be a problem was there was a weather radar that was co-located with our Blue Force tracker, and so that said, hey, you're going to have an issue here. So having that ability within the status board would be great.
Yeah. I mean, oh yeah, go for it, please.
Say another feature that I think all of us that have used the software really like is being able to break out all those forms into folders. So we'll have a folder for the operations and planning and command staff. So then we can organize all of our forms into there so it's not 50 different forms just loose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I also wanted to just slide in here that another one of my favorite parts about it is that it isn't esoteric in the way that all of the information that is inputted in there, everyone can see on the same format. And I kind of think of the firefighter analogy, like if your guy that's pumping all the water from the fire truck into the hoses has, God forbid, a heart attack or falls over, you need to have somebody else in that position ready to take responsibility of that role so that we can ultimately finish the job. And knowing that somebody could pick up that program and the usability is easy and all the information is right there for them is super important in future incidents.
Yeah, I mean, of course I agree because I work for that company. But I did want to I wanted to address the support center first. So I do want to shout out our main man GP, our help desk aficionado. So he's probably the guy that responded to you ASAP as soon as you put in that request. So GP's great. Hey GP, if he's here. In terms of the continuity aspect as well, you know, that is one thing you're going to notice as you go into the field post college is that turnover, changes, staff changes, they happen so frequently, and the knowledge transfer aspect is so weak in some agencies. And it's just so impressive that for D4H, I mean, I've heard of some software where you literally need to have a pay line to have someone devoted on how to use the software, and then once they go, you're kind of like, well, how are we going to use this software now? So that's a really great point. I really appreciate that analogy. That was a great point there. You know, I'm going to be honest, I've ran out of my list of questions here. I know that we got about 8 to 10 minutes left of our live stream. Is there any other points or questions or comments that you'd like to bring up before we close out the live stream here?
You know, for me, it was just I think it's telling of the company that it started to pick up from people seeing that it was being used in the field so much, right? And it's also telling of the company that when I approached it, it was a very personable conversation from president on down. And then as we start to use it, it is ridiculously easy to use. To your point about you're not going to need to have a training budget line item to make sure that you can use the software that you already know how to use the ICS. Like that's already done. And then the students have just grabbed onto it like that. And that tells me that when I go to use it in the field, I'm going to have that same level of acceptance no matter where I'm at. So even if I do have half of the response capability, never having used it before, I'm not going to have a training tail that's going to inhibit my response capabilities. So it's a testament to the program itself, really.
So just being able to walk in after being assigned the incident commander role and being able to log in on the computer and assign roles was like a testament to how easy it is, never seeing the software other than a couple of videos, being able to walk in and actually use the software without really any issues was great.
Yeah, I think I've only had the opportunity to play with it in that resource request or that pre-planning period of that time. So come April 8th, I'm really excited to see how the rest of that in response action time, everything plays out.
Yeah. Great. And so, I mean, I've Colton, I don't know if you have any last 2 cents that you also want to throw in there just before I do the housekeeping items for the end of the live stream.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, we kind of mentioned it already, but it's a super flexible program with that kind of back programming that you can do, how we can just import really any forms we need, even if it's not programmed in there at that moment, we can just import it ourselves. And it allows us to be very flexible with how we operate the program, even if it doesn't have exactly everything that we need at that moment.
Sweet. I mean, I don't even need to do my job anymore. You guys are just selling it for me with all the feedback. Well, great. Let me just do some last minute housekeeping items as we're closing out the stream here. First, you heard it here first and foremost that on April 8th, we got Rotorfest. So connect with them on LinkedIn, find them on their socials, go check out the event. I would go there if I did not already have a pre-planned event. Plus I work. So besides that, check out their event at the Pennsylvania College of Technology. Additionally, big thanks to Katie, who is currently overseeing the live stream on our back end. She dropped a comment in the chat there to follow us on Eventbrite. So if you want to follow more of our live streams and get notified of those upcoming conversations, check us out on Eventbrite. And big thanks to Katie on the back end. Finally, thank you guys for coming on this live stream. I know it's not easy. I know it's weird having like a random video conversation, but this is huge, having such the opportunity to collaborate with you as the first education resource and making sure that we're actually teaching our newer generation how to use these creative solutions. So thank you all very much. And anything else, just follow D4H and we'll see you all on the next live stream. So thank you all again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.